this is a question. It says, Lynn, it's become increasingly apparent that Obama's policies are authored in London. And although the general assessment of those of us who have functioned institutionally as part of the executive branch for quite some time is that much will be decided during the next 100 days, and that those days will be decisive for this presidency and for the nation. As of now, Obama has shown himself to be largely incapable, no matter how willing he may be, of delivering these policies into practice. And we have to assume that London is acutely aware of this. How, in your view, will they respond to this reality?
Well, I think it lies with the American people. What we have recently, we've had a mass strike phenomenon inside the United States, which came to the surface at the time in August when the congressmen had fled back to their home districts, and which they hadn't, because the reception they got. The assumption has been in Washington that that mood in the population has waned since that time. Not true. What had happened was, it's a understandable phenomenon, if you understand dynamics in history, that this should happen. What the people did, the members of Congress were going back to their constituencies, areas, and to do a routine re-election campaign kind of operation. And what they found were two things. The turnout for these meetings that they called was unprecedented. It was enormous by their standards. And the people in these meetings, the constituents, would turn upon their representative and say, "You shut up. We want to tell you something about you right now." And that's what they did. But these are citizens. This is a mass strike phenomenon in the technical terms of the thing. Strategically, it's a mass strike phenomenon. It's not a strike of masses, it's a mass strike. That is a popular uprising of emotion and ideas among the people who feel that they have rights and they've been subjected to a great injustice. And they go to their representatives, "Hey, you bum, we want to tell you that we think you're a bum, and you want you to do something about this." But that's not the way you get the job done. That's the first step of getting the job done. Because now you said do it, and they're not going to do it. They're going to go back to their masters in Washington and Wall Street, and they're going to do what they're told to do. Go along to get along. The usual song and dance. Right? So they got back there, and they gave the treatment. Now the people was getting more and more angry. Now, in a case like this, you get to a very dangerous point where the people who despair of a lack of competent response by their elected representatives and other officials no longer say, "You do it for us." They begin to say, "We'll do it to you." And you're getting into that kind of a period. And when you get into that kind of a period, you get a very dangerous development in which those in power will tend to resort to dictatorial methods to resist those who they represent. That's where you're at now, about that point, about Christmas time, right now. So it never went away. Every reading I have, it's intensified. The hatred against the Congress has increased. Because the people in the citizens don't really hate Obama so much, because they never thought he was worth much anyway. He was just a sort of a Hollywood character who came on stage. They had no deep emotional attachment to him, but they did have a deep emotional attachment to the people they voted for. These were not strangers. Obama was a stranger who came in, a Hollywood figure. Sold like a Hollywood figure. They had no feeling about him. how can you feel anything about Obama? I mean, that's sort of a masturbation tour. I mean, that's what that is. It's no involvement. But they do have a great feeling about the people who they thought they elected. Because you're saying to them, not that this stranger Obama has come in to haunt you. They're saying, you have betrayed us. We trusted you and you betrayed us. You sold us out. You're setting us to be killed by this health care policy. You're setting us to be killed. We're losing all our jobs. We're losing our things. We're being junked like junk on the horizon. And the people come to a point in a mass strike phenomena at which there's a turning point, in which they say, no, you do what we tell you. No. It gets dangerous. And when you get a stupid and arrogant government, which is what Obama represents with his crazy behavioral types, and when he's threatening with a Hitler-style health policy, and it is a Hitler-style, that mustache belongs on his upper lip. He may not have put it there, but it grew there anyway. It knew where to land. It's dangerous. And such times as this, with the breakdown of the system, is a time that you get chaos, you get riots, you get repressive regimes, dictatorships, and so forth. And therefore, those who are not showing courage to give proper representation to the people, when the people can no longer tolerate the government they're getting, is a dangerous point at any point in history. And a government forces that refuse to recognize the lesson before them are the cause of that. This is what happened in the French Revolution. It happened. You take the case of Lafayette, for example, as an example of this problem. Lafayette was a hero of the United States, but he was never quite the same as a hero in France. And even when he went back to France, in the company with one of our great naval fellows, a great author, James Fenimore Cooper, and with the great man from New York and elsewhere. So that, again, in dealing with the question of the French government in the 1820s, Lafayette goofed again, as he had goofed again earlier in June, prior to the famous July 14th. And so therefore, this is typical, is when you face a change in government, or change in government policy, which has reached a critical point, and you don't respond with good government, you create a vacuum in which all hell can bust loose. Of course, this thing started in 1782 when the British dictatorship under Lord Shelburne made a separate peace negotiation process with the three allies, the United States, Spain, and France. And by making a separate agreement through the newly founded Foreign Office, British Foreign Office, which was founded by Shelburne, they played France, Spain, and the United States against each other in this process. And this led to a great crisis where you had this great alliance, the League of Armed Neutrality, which had made possible the freedom of the United States. That condition was destroyed systematically by the British East India Company by the same intellectual method that was used by the same people to organize the 7 Years' War. And the 7 Years' War destroyed it. And similarly later, you had Napoleon. Napoleon was the greatest hero that Britain ever had. Because without Napoleon's warfare, modeled on the 7 Years' War, Europe would never have been crushed and submitted at Vienna to the conditions that ensued, and so forth. So this is the kind of process we're looking at right now. And only what I'm proposing we do will prevent this. We must deliver in the United States. We must deliver to the American people, the great majority. And the great majority is out there. The great majority is typified by what we saw in August in the streets and so forth in these meetings. We must deliver a result. Now, not bargain about it, we must deliver it. Obama is destroying the United States with his current policies. He didn't start this thing, but he's continuing it. We have to reverse those trends. We have to eliminate entirely his health care policy, Obama's. What we do instead, we go to a lesson, health care lesson. The health care lesson is that under Nixon, we destroyed our health care system. We introduced the HMO system. And private insurance companies got control over medical care. Then later, we had a new thing which occurred in the courts. Malpractice insurance cases. Tremendous fees, grants for malpractice injuries by the courts, by the court system. The result was the insurance, which had to be paid by medical institutions and by physicians for the practice of medicine, drove them essentially out of the business and drove up the cost of medical care. You look at, say, for the drug policies, for example, what it costs to get a certain prescription drug in the United States as opposed to Canada or other places in Europe. Why? It's a swindle of what? Of the insurance companies. Shall we say AIG? We bailed it out, and the bailout is now part of it. Then they get the bright idea on top of that with Obama to cut the right to medical care. We've got to kill you in order to save money to balance the budget. I would say cancel the HMOs. Go back to Hill-Burton. Cancel the HMO system. It's a swindle from the beginning. We bailed these guys out. They shouldn't have been bailed out. They should have been bankrupted. We got a Social Security system. Build up the Social Security system as an insurance system for the population. We don't have to rely upon these swindling insurance companies. We didn't do that. Now they say, we are green. We're not going to allow modern technology. We're going green. We're going to have solar panels. We're going to have windmills. We're going to make gas ourselves, and we're going to burn it. We'll feed ourselves beans or something. So what has happened, we're at a point, we have an existential conflict between the vital interests of the people of the United States and the nation of the United States and the interests which Obama has served. This is happening with an oppressive action, this insult to the Americans of putting 40,000 troops or more into Afghanistan. Absolutely criminally insane. Well, the president is insane, in my view. Or he's so stupid it amounts to the same thing. But the point is, when we take our government, and you put our government and even our own members of the legislature, we put them as threats to the very lives of our citizens, while you're destroying their homes, evictions, destroying the price of food, creating a food scarcity, everything imaginable. Everything that Louis XVI did in France as economic policy from 1782 to 1789 that led to the great conflict between the French people and its monarchy, its government, and led to this horror show is being done now inside the United States under British direction. And therefore, what we have to understand is that we have to get this president under control. We have to get those policies out of the Congress. Otherwise, we're going to hell. We got our choice. Now, how do you deal with that? People who are politically active and influential have to pull together and make sure the changes are made. and the changes are forcibly put upon the relevant institutions of government, so we don't have the kind of thing that happened in France under Louis XVI. We're very close to that now. The American people are instinctively a proud people. They're confident of themselves, and they've been degraded. There is a limit to what the American people can tolerate in degradation. I think the American people will tolerate all kinds of suffering if they believe that is necessary and warranted. It's happened before. But when the suffering is imposed upon them by either their own government or when their own government is complicit in a foreign power in doing that to them, you are creating a very dangerous situation. And no patriot will encourage or tolerate what the Obama administration is doing to the people of the United States right now. This guy's got to be put under control. And he can be put under control with people who have the intelligence and guts to know how to do it.